Welcome. Welcome to the BVTV network, coming to you from the UK studios of BizVision. I'm your host, Malcolm Gallagher. This is episode 2 in the BV Startup Success Trilogy with serial entrepreneur and author David Muchow. Hello, David.
Hey, how are you, Malcolm?
I'm loving chatting to you, but most importantly, I'm loving the difference that you've created with your book because as you can see from my grey hair, I've been around a while, and people need to know what you're telling them, but they never get told because they always get told the upside, And the one thing I learned that you reflected in episode 1, I think I learned over on, first of all, is turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash is king. And all these things you never get told until you get into a situation. Now, David, episode 2 of our trilogy, I want to move to the stage of getting started. There are those who rush at it without planning and they fail quickly, in my mind. And then there are those who take their time, but hesitate too long and never get started. Somewhere in between is success. What do you suggest in your book that our aspiring entrepreneur needs to consider to hit that in-between sweet spot?
Well, the key, Malcolm, I think, is to make a plan. What is your current situation? Do you want to continue working in the job that you have and maybe try to do a little bit of this online or on the side? A lot of people do that. And it's a little scary. You have one foot on the dock and one foot in the boat, and you're not sure that you want to go onto that boat because the water looks a little rough.
Yeah.
But what you can do is first make a plan and do some market research and see if your concept is viable and is commercially viable, so that you won't be wasting a year or two of your time and money. So what do you do with market research? Well, you take a look at your concept for your product or service, and you start talking to people, and you talk to 100 people. And I'm not just saying 100 just to throw a number out there. Why 100? Because your concept as a startup is merely a hypothesis, just like a science experiment. And you don't know if it's real or not real, it's going to work or not work. By the time you talk to 100 people, and if you listen, and the key is to listen, not try to sell anybody, you're trying to get inside the head of would-be purchasers, because it's all about who's going to write the check. Nobody writes a check, you're not going to have much of a business. So you talk to people and you have open-ended conversations. You say, hey, if I could do this over this period of time at this price, and it would work like this, would you be interested? And what are you using now? And what would you like to do that's not even out there, that hasn't been done yet? And once you put some of that together, and then you do market research on the web and find out what the competition is doing, you'll start to get a general idea as whether or not you have a viable product. And is it going to be commercial? And then you make a plan, and you don't have to go all the way from manufacturing to distribution and sales and so forth. You can say, look, I've got an invention. I just want to file a patent on that, get royalties, and I want to sit on my yacht for the rest of my life and collect royalties. Or you may want to do the whole thing and build up more and more value in your product or service. As Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you're going,
yes,
you'll end up somewhere else.
Yeah, brilliant. I know one of the things I liked about your book is something I learned 30 years ago. And I was doing the marketing for a very big BBC show and a big BBC personality who went across to America and studied with Oprah Winfrey about intellectual property and brought that back to the UK. And there were hardly any lawyers in that time in the UK, just 30 years ago, who understood it. Now it's really key. And you point that out as a very important part of this before you're actually getting started, that you're protecting everything, because people will steal things, won't they?
Oh, absolutely. I've had people steal things off of my web and try to sell my products under their name.
Yeah.
There are probably few things more important than intellectual property, because when you're starting out, all you have is yourself and an idea.
Yeah.
And think of that idea as money in a bank vault, and you don't want to leave the bank vault door open or they'll steal all your money. And, patents are gained on the first to file. So it's like a race to the courthouse. So once you get to about 80% of your core idea, and of course, as an inventor, entrepreneur, every day you're going to be thinking of, some other bells and whistles to add to your concept. But once you get to the core idea, talk to a lawyer right away. There are some stages here. One stage is you can do an internet search on, for example, Google patents, and you can get probably an 80% idea as to what else is out there. If it's already been invented, don't waste your money filing a patent. Just try to compete in the market. So you could do a search, and then if it looks like, I don't see anything quite like this, talk to an attorney, have that patent filed, because first to file wins. And then and it takes, some period of time before that patent filing is going to become public. So you really have an advantage over the competition. I once created solar projects, rapidly deployable solar and wind power system for the CIA and military. And I only beat somebody across Europe who was working on the same concept by about 2 weeks. But I did get it filed on time, and I wrote down the date as to when I invented it and so forth. So once you get a patent, which can take some time and is expensive, and explore with a lawyer less expensive ways to protect your filing without having to file a full patent. Then you want to make sure that any employee or person working on that project assigns all of their intellectual property rights to your company.
Yeah.
Because if they don't do that, they own whatever they created. This is a big mistake that many startups make. They go blogging, they can't resist blogging and bragging about their new idea. Somebody else gets it, runs off with it, you don't file a patent, and you lose it. And you can't patent something that's not new.
No.
So even though you put it on the internet, by the time you get to filing patent, it's not new anymore because everybody else is in there too. So you're absolutely right, Malcolm. IP is very important.
Yeah, sound advice, David, and stuff that you don't get from people, and I know that, so that's really sound advice. Another reason to get your book. Thanks, David. Now let's give viewers and listeners details of your URL, your website address, which obviously, viewers, you can see on the screen behind me, but for listeners, let me spell it out. All the W's dot David Muchow. Now that's Muchow, author.com. All the W's, David Muchow, author.com. David's book is called The 7 Secret Keys to Startup Success, What You Need to Know to Win, and it's available from bookstores and online at Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. My final stage in our trilogy is to discuss with David. It's a stage that I think is far too often entrepreneurs forget about, and they need to consider it in their planning, and that's keeping it going once you've got it started. Are you ready for that chat, David?
Yes, absolutely. Look forward to it, Malcolm.